480 Marines, boxed into a valley so tight it might as well have been their grave. Ammo bleeding out, radios filling with static and half-screams, every ridge lit with muzzle flashes like a storm of fire raining down. Command's answer? Wait. Protocol's order? Hold position. But in that valley where silence meant certain death, one sniper, a woman they mocked as useless, a ghost they pushed to the sidelines, made a choice no manual ever dared print. She ignored orders. She ignored protocol. And with a single rifle, she rewrote the fate of a battalion left for dead. This is the story of Sergeant Elena Marquez, the Marine who disobeyed to save 480 lives. The sun hadn't risen yet when the battalion pushed through Sangar Valley, a stretch of Afghan wilderness the locals called the mouth of hell. Sheer ridges boxed in the valley floor, tall enough to swallow radio signals, and thick with rock shelves that made perfect nests for ambush. Intel said the route was clear. Reality said otherwise. At 4:30, the first RPG tore the silence apart. It slammed into the lead Humvee, fireballing it into scrap. Shrapnel screamed through the morning haze, and before the Marines even hit the dirt, gunfire rained down from every ridge. Hundreds of rifles, dozens of RPGs, mortars lighting the valley like fireworks from hell. Within minutes, Marines were pinned, bodies pressed against stone, dirt, and whatever scraps of cover they could find. Ammo poured out in frantic bursts, but for every shot they fired, 10 came back. Their world had become a cage of lead. Sergeant Elena Marquez lay flat in the dust near the rear convoy truck, her M110 sniper rifle cradled in her arms. She wasn't built like the men around her. No bulging biceps, no booming voice. Just lean muscle, steady breath, and eyes sharp enough to catch the flicker of a muzzle flash half a mile away. But to most of them, she wasn't a warrior. She was a quota. The girl sniper, they sneered. The one sent to check a box, not to change a battlefield. Even in the weeks before the mission, she heard the whispers. She'll choke when the first shots come. Dead weight. Good for morale, maybe. That's it. Now those same men lay bleeding beside her, staring wide-eyed at the ridges above. And while commanders screamed hold position into broken radios, Elena's eyes moved with cold precision, scanning, calculating, memorizing every flash, every shadow, every silhouette of the enemy raining fire from the cliffs. The battalion commander, Major Laramie, barked over the comms. His voice was strained, clipped. Hold positions, we wait for air support. Nobody breaks formation, nobody engages without orders. But air support wasn't coming. The ridges swallowed signals, and the weather rolling in from the north made drone coverage useless. Elena knew what that meant. By the time help arrived, there'd be nothing left to save. She checked her scope, found her first target. Exhaled. The man dropped before he could fire another RPG. A single shot cracked through the chaos. Marines nearby whipped their heads toward her. "You heard the Major," one shouted. "Stand down." But she didn't. She couldn't. Another breath. Another trigger squeeze. Another machine gun nest silenced. Her heart didn't race. Her hands didn't shake. Every shot was calm, measured, a thread pulling chaos back under control, one kill at a time. By the 20th shot, Marines were no longer yelling at her. They were watching. Her bullets cleared ridges where entire squads had been trapped. They carved gaps in the ambush that gave pinned units room to breathe. She wasn't just fighting. She was reshaping the battlefield. Word spread fast. "Snipers clearing the North Ridge. She's giving us space. Move, move." For the first time since the ambush began, Marines weren't just surviving. They were advancing. But the enemy adjusted. Mortars zeroed in. Machine guns shifted to drown her out. A shell exploded just meters from her perch, flinging her rifle into the dirt. Ears ringing, blood streaming down her temple, she clawed back for the weapon, wiped the scope clean, and forced her eyes open. Her vision blurred. But the ridges came back into focus. And so did the enemy commander, standing tall, barking orders, rallying fire. She steadied her breath. A single pull ended him. The enemy fire stuttered. For a heartbeat, silence. Then Marines surged forward, their battle cries shaking the valley. For 6 straight hours, Elena fired, moved, and fired again, crawling through mud, dragging wounded Marines into cover between shots, then sighting back in to drop the next ridgetop gunner. Her kill count soared past 50, then 70, then 100. She wasn't following protocol anymore. She was writing her own. By dusk, the valley floor was littered with abandoned weapons, enemy fighters fleeing into the mountains. 480 Marines walked out of Sangar Valley alive. Back at base, the major tried to bury it. His report praised coordinated defensive maneuvers and collective resilience. Not a single mention of the sniper who had broken orders. But the men knew. The ones who had bled in the dirt, who had seen death inches away before her rifle spoke, they remembered. In hushed voices in the shadows of tents and mess halls, they told the story. About the woman who ignored command, about the sniper who saved the battalion. Her name traveled farther than any report ever would. Sergeant Elena Marquez, the Marine they underestimated. The Marine who rewrote fate. They said guns weren't for women. They mocked her, ignored her, pushed her to the edge of silence. But in Sangar Valley, when 480 lives hung by a thread, it wasn't the loudest man or the highest rank who changed the story. It was a sniper. It was her. And though history may never write her name in ink, every Marine who walked out of that valley carried it in their hearts. Because heroes don't always follow the rules. Sometimes they break them to save the world.